Howdy folks, it's your boy NoBribe, and let me lay something out before we go any further. I talk a lot about the positive aspects of events I've gone to, as well as some fair criticisms, and I mean everything I say. I do my best to stay genuine to a fault when it comes to event coverage. A lot of the big front page of YouTube convention videos are about, this was a catastrophe, or it was the Fire Fest of cons. I don't have any of that for you here though. I always want you to feel like you know what it was like to be there, and that often comes across in a very clinical, structured way, but I've been banging my head on the desk trying to find a way to fit that format while conveying my actual feelings on this one, and I can't. This convention killed it in every regard. Anything less than honest expression won't carry what I felt and experienced this last weekend, so screw structure for this one. These are all the things I loved about Sonic Neon Summit. When I say the word fandom, it can bring to mind so many different things for so many different people. To our veterans of the Cold Wars of Tumblr, thank you for your service. To mountains of fanfiction, often the only parts we get to see of a community from the outside are only the most shallow depths. Some memes, a cringe compilation, a spicy cosplay by a well-known creator, it's kind of whatever floats to the top. I was not expecting the level of chillness and camaraderie that was on display from the Sonic fandom at this one. People were sincere, friendly, inviting, and it was largely smiles all around. The excitement of folks getting to meet creators and voice actors was palpable, the energy from the dance that totally wasn't a rave and the concerts was unreal. The people who'd never met were yelling catchphrases to cosplayers who reciprocated with poses, and panel attendees were engaged with commentary and asking questions. With attendance hovering closer to hundreds and hundreds than the tens of thousands a bigger event like Level Up Expo would boast, it felt cozy and like I could have been friends with anyone in the room at any given moment. I gotta have some excellent discussions about game lore, swap past con stories, and have some amazing shoots with the cosplayers, some of whom we scheduled follow-up shoots for the following day. The cosplay at this event ranged from simple, fun, elegant, exquisite, and fluffiest of all the suitors. I spent a fair chunk of time hanging out by the backdrop for shoots with those who wanted them. There were also some featured influencer guests, including Toasty, who was organizing the cosplay contest. They did an awesome job, with the line for the event wrapping around the room. There was a mix of craftsmanship competitors who were judging on technical aspects like construction and detail work, as well as a showcase category for those who just wanted to show off their outfits. Cheers erupted and people left their seats for the announcement of the top 3. I was lucky to get some extra snaps of the winners. The main stage area was more than adequate for this type of event, as it also hosted several concerts and a dance. Improv games by Whiskers and Wit were fun to watch, and the crowd got heavily involved, with members coming up on stage to participate.
That scene.
In addition to the main stage were several panel rooms which hosted smaller scale events. I'm not listing all of them here, but the Chow Black Market was a fun one where participants could exchange Sonic goods with each other with no money allowed. The karaoke room was booming with some stellar performances, and who knew that Maria was so into metal.
No more compromise. This is do or die. For you one last time. You wake the beast inside. To prove it all to you, I am who you told me I am. All wrapped up in my evil plan.
There was a panel where people shared stories of their favorite plushies and brought them along to hang out. Toasty hosted an in-depth cosplay makeup panel that was really informative. Beyond that, there were discussions of fan series and headcanon, health and wellness, and a lot of other fandom topics. At the end of the hall lay an arcade with an excellent selection of Sega and rhythm games. Shout out to my second convention, in a row, that actually had Sonic the Fighters featured. A silent auction gave attendees a chance to sing along with some of their favorite Sonic music artists live. Among those artists were well-known names to the fandom like Johnny Gioli and Bentley Jones, who hyped up the crowds whether they were on the main stage or in a panel room.
And I like the world of future, but then you still control the past. Yes! Who I am and what I'm here for. It's gonna be you. Here for. Traveling inside of me. Traveling my energy. Let me. And you go like this. Just.
There are other celebrity guests too, such as many of the voice actors from the various games and series, and Lee Majub, who played Agent Stone in the movies. All of them are listed on the event website linked below. I'm not going to list them all here.
And we can all do the thing with the big cat, you know. But I don't know if you guys probably know this story, that John St. John actually hates the voice of Big the Cat. For those of you who haven't heard the story, real quick, John St. John was a very accomplished radio personality and voiceover artist, and so he was brought in by the casting director to do a part. And he didn't know until he got to the studio that day to work who he was going to be. So he was literally in the booth with headphones on, looking at the microphone, and they said, "You're going to be this character called Big the Cat." And they said all the things. He's a big dude, he likes to fish, he misses his froggy, all the things. And so John, just screwing around, was like, "Oh, so you want a big voice like this?" And he was goofing around, and they were like, "Yes!" And John was just like, no, I was just screwing around. I can come up with something way better than that. And they're like, "No, we want that." And John was like, "Damn it." And now for the last 25 years, he has to do this all the time. And he hates it. But you guys know that Big the Cat is also Duke Nukem. Yeah. Fun fact about John St. John. Yeah, so I've always liked Big, so there you go.
The exhibitor hall had a bunch of fan-made merch with a lot of hand-drawn, human-created art, and obviously a lot of passion poured into everything. There was also a quiet room, a coloring area, and a main room where the catering was. Food choices were awesome, and the prices were very reasonable for convention food, with the $5 chili dog stealing the show for me. All of this was packed in an area deep inside the Grand Sierra Resort. It's a known venue in Reno, hosting many events, restaurants, casino, and other resort amenities. Overall, this felt like the exact right amount of space, and the venue fit perfectly. For me, what I was expecting was blown out of the water by what was actually presented. I was media staff and had a busy weekend where I always pretty much had at least one camera in my hand. It was awesome getting to document everything, and the rest of the crew were busting to get all the important stuff done while I had fun taking pictures. During the rave, or dance, my Godzilla Tamagotchi got to jam out a little bit, but it passed the next morning, so he might have gone a little bit too hard. I also picked up a Chonky Vaporeon keychain to serve as a charm on my blue Tamagotchi Paradise when it releases next month. The photo shoots were great, friends were made, and I got a chance to interact with folks I otherwise might not ever have. I walked in appreciating Sonic on a retro game level, and walked out with a bunch of friends in a new community, so I couldn't have asked for more. I also want to point out that this was a first year event. We've heard so many horror stories over the past decade or so, and I know a lot of folks are hesitant or cringe a little at that phrase, but this one was awesome on its own, or amazing considering that fact.
Blizzard went to a Sonic convention in Texas back in November, and she was a vendor there. We're in a big group chat with all of our friends, and she says, I want to start a Sonic convention. That was 7 months ago, and now we're here.
Blizzard and Jimmy put together an excellent convention, and the community came to bat helping with a Kickstarter. In the end, Sonic Neon Summit was a labor of love that the founders, the crew, the sponsors, and the attendees built from the ground up. Everyone came together in an age of failed conventions and cash grabs to make something real happen on a summer weekend in Reno, Nevada. Will I see you at the next one? Thank y'all for watching this far. This is going to be my first vertical format long form video, as well as my first with some of my newer gear, so let me know how you like it. I can only hope that my craft can convey the same level of passion as the events I cover, so if you like my vibe, please throw me a sub or follow or whatever the platform you're on calls for, as I'm throwing it on everything to see what sticks. If you want to see any of my older convention, virtual pet, or tabletop gaming coverage, check the link in the description or my bio or just, on the screen or whatever, as it'll have links to all my other socials. Most of my old event coverage is going to be up on YouTube, but I'm using that platform a whole lot less these days just because it's kind of terrible in comparison to everything else in my opinion. But yeah, if you were at SNS, let me know in the comments how it was for you. What was your experience? What were your favorite parts? If you see a picture of yourself and you want some copies, go ahead, email me, NoBribeFoul@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send them to you. And thank you again to everyone involved.